Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We are delighted to have one of our partners, AvidXchange, joining us. Rhonda and Jack will be presenting on 5 arguments against AP automation and why they're wrong. As a reminder, we are recording this webinar and we will post it to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again or share with anyone. And you can find our library under our resources tab on our website, and that's inovia.com. We encourage you to ask questions during our presentation, so please feel free to type them into the questions box, and we will answer them at the end of our session. So now I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda to kick off our presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rhonda Greene, and I am a Principal Solutions Consultant here at AvidXchange. But prior to joining AvidXchange 10 years ago, I actually am a longtime former AP manager. And so AP and AP automation has always been something that's near and dear to my heart. So it's something that I talk about in length and enjoy sharing best practices and presentations like this one. So today for our agenda, we're going to talk about middle market technology adoption, 5 arguments against accounts payable and payment automation, AP automation with AvidXchange, and we'll leave room at the end for Q&A. So middle market technology adoption. AvidXchange surveyed finance professionals about whether their organization has adopted automation technology into their finance department and why or why not. So what we found was that the majority of respondents, about 2/3, have adopted automation technology, and nearly 3/4 have plans to adopt tools or technology within the next 3 years. And this is definitely something that I think that I see on a regular basis. I know that with the pandemic, that really brought automation to the forefront. A lot of businesses were unable to, go into their office and access their invoices or print their checks. And so it really helped drive a push toward automation. And as you can see here, nearly 1/4 of middle market finance professionals said that their business is focusing their spending on technology and IT. And again, it's definitely something that we're seeing, and we're really encouraged by that, because with automation, you have access to your information 24/7, and you're not tied to the office, as we see more and more teams continuing to work remote. So that's kind of where we're at right now with middle market companies, and they're looking to increase their spend on technology, and hopefully that will continue into the future. So 5 blockers to automation technology adoption. So, we talk to countless numbers of businesses every day, and, we're always asking, like, what is the main reason why your organization has not adopted automation technology into your finance operation? And basically, here's what we heard from those that we surveyed. So 21% said that they have other business challenges that they feel like they need to rectify first. 20% said it was cost. 18% the training required to upskill employees. 12% said it was a lack of senior management awareness or buy-in, where 12% said that they didn't feel like they needed any automation at this time. We also asked, what would motivate your organization to consider adopting an automation tool? And the top 3 answers that we heard were proven cost savings to help grow the business, help with attracting and retaining talent, and onboarding services to train employees. And again, this is very consistent to the message that I hear when I'm, out talking to, other finance professionals in the field. However, the proven cost savings is huge. And I think that you'll find that the cost is not as great as you may think it is to automate. And the return that you'll receive through efficiencies, time savings, and other things is that you'll find that you're well ahead of the game. And so really, I encourage you to do your research and to make sure that you're kind of setting a baseline for what you think that you're paying to process invoices and payments. Usually when I'm talking to folks, they say, oh, it can't be more than $1 per invoice. And actually it's significantly more than that. So really when you sit down and do the math and you're adding in all of the components, the labor, and then even on the payment side, when you think about all of the costs associated with processing paper checks, you'll see that that really adds up. So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but just some things to consider. So let's talk about these 5 arguments against AP automation. The first one is AP automation software costs are too much. Adopting new technology is an investment for sure, but the time and cost saving benefits, as I mentioned, of AP automation can provide a swift return on investment. So we surveyed those middle market finance professionals that have automated and asked them what their life is like after automation. And 47% say the main reason they adopted automation technology was to improve efficiency and streamline the process. 33% said the biggest improvement they've seen since implementing automation is quicker approval of invoices. And that is definitely something that automation helps with in a big way. Custom automation workflows can eliminate the need to reach out to an approver, especially for those recurring invoices that are the same dollar amount. Also, you can reroute approvals easily when someone is out of the office. There's also a gently reminder to approvers to approve invoices and payments. And you're going to know exactly where your invoices are in that workflow. So no more wondering, is this invoice sitting on Joe's desk or is it with Sally? Because you're going to know where your invoices are all through the workflow. And also it provides a central repository for anytime, anywhere access to your invoice data. And that's critical, as I mentioned earlier, because we heard from many, many folks that not being able to access this information during the pandemic really caused them to pay invoices late, miss cash discounts, etc. According to a report from the Institute of Finance and Management, companies using limited or no automation spend $8.78 to process one invoice. So as I mentioned earlier, those folks that think, oh, it can't be more than $1, this really kind of drives the point home. Again, you've got to consider all of the costs associated with processing just one invoice. But if they are using a high level of automation, it is only costing them $1.77 to process that one invoice. So look at that significant difference from $8.78 to $1.77. And that is before actually considering labor costs. So that number can actually go north of $10 easily. So as you assess how much you can save with AP automation, factor in the cost of physical goods. As I mentioned earlier, you've got to think about the cost associated with those paper checks, those envelopes, the stamps. According to Goldman Sachs, supplies alone, just the supplies, cost $1.55 a check. And that is not, again, including any time spent to manage those paper checks. So definitely something to think about. And number 2, we heard that, our business just has more pressing needs. But when we really get down to, the bottom of the issue, it's that, AP automation is not only going to streamline your invoice and payment processes, it can also help solve bigger business challenges. So some of the things that AP automation can help with are staffing issues. One of the significant benefits of automation is being able to scale your business without adding additional headcount. So that definitely can help you with staffing issues. And as a matter of fact, according to AvidXchange research, the middle market companies that have adopted automation technology into their finance operations are more likely to indicate revenue growth over the past 2 years and say that current market conditions are good for their business. Also, being able to grow without headcount, according to Goldman Sachs, AP automation can drive 70 to 80% time savings for AP staff. And having personally managed manual AP departments, way back in the day, I know for a fact how manual these processes can be, from opening the mail to stamping the mail with the date stamp, routing it all around, coding it, entering it into your ERP, of course, getting those manual approvals. All of these things, again, add up. And when you think about what you can save, it kind of is a no-brainer. And yes, you may have more pressing or other business needs, but AP automation is something that's really can be a fairly quick win. Implementation is usually, within 6 to 8 weeks time that you can be up and running on an automated solution. And 83% of middle market companies that have adopted automation technology into their finance operations said that their company has seen that revenue growth, compared to only 61% of those who have not adopted any sort of automation technology. Also, 78% feel the technology their organization has adopted in the last 2 years will have an impact on their business continuity moving forward. Remote work is here to stay. And AP automation allows employees to be able to work remotely. And again, this is typically a department, the AP department is one that you don't typically think of as working remote. But again, I think that we're all looking at a new way of work, here now and into the future. Fraud, also, AP automation can help increase security and prevent fraud in those remote and hybrid working environments, as well as, and I think this last one not everybody always thinks about, but your supplier-vendor relationships. 59% of middle market companies that have adopted automation technology into their finance operations said that their relationships with vendors are much better, or somewhat better now, compared to 2 years ago, when only 38% who have not, said, compared to those who have not adopted any sort of automation technology. So again, some huge takeaways from this one slide alone. The third is it's too hard to train our staff on new technologies. So what we have found out in all of the research and the surveys that we've conducted is that many AP pros are nearing retirement age. I am one of those. From 2022 to 2026, 1 in 5 AP organizations expect to lose a significant share of their team members to retirement. And what I know from personal experience and from talking to others is that younger employees, millennials especially, expect automation and want the ability to work on more strategic initiatives. They don't want to spend time opening invoices and doing lots of data entry. They use finance technology in their personal lives. So if you think about things like digital wallets, mobile check deposits, and they don't believe that professional lives should be any different, and really they shouldn't. Also, according to a Workday Global CFO survey, CFOs are looking to their workforce to adapt along with the landscape and really become more data savvy. Also, 71% of respondents hope to close the gap on any new functions or capabilities they need to add through upskilling, as they look to future-proof their teams. Also, AvidXchange offers ongoing support and training resources to ensure customer success. So when we look at these surveys, finding out that 24% of finance professionals say the biggest pain point they experience is that high paper volume, paper everywhere. Also, controllers say that they're spending 31% of their time as a strategist, but they'd like that number to be closer to 50 or 51% by reducing the amount of time that they're having to spend, on traditional tasks. So really looking for an AP automation partner is key. And you're looking for one that does provide that ongoing support and training resources. And again, it's really the ongoing training. AP automation is going to be actually much easier for these AP professionals than those manual tasks that they're performing today. So I really encourage you to do your research again into AP automation, because it really is life-changing for that AP department. We also hear, well, we can't get any buy-in from senior leadership. And so research shows that AP automation software helps improve processes, saves money, and empowers employees, which is really a triple threat for leadership. And really, in talking and surveying CFOs, we're finding that some of their top priorities are attracting and retaining talent, training the finance department in advanced financial and technical skills, and also removing those tedious, time-consuming tasks from the employees' plates. According to a Deloitte CFO Signals report, 60.7% of CFOs said talent was one of their top 3 priorities in 2022. That outpaced financial performance, growth, strategy, and cost management. Training, a survey of 800 finance executives sponsored by SAP, suggested that 42% of finance activities can be fully automated using currently available technology. 57% of senior finance executives want to use the time saved by automation to better train their finance department in advanced financial and technical skills. So really, you're not looking to reduce your headcount, but really to move those employees that are focusing on those manual processes into more strategic tasks. Also, according to a Workday Global CFO survey, 35% of CFOs are looking to leverage automation. Again, let's remove these tedious tasks. And also, according to AvidXchange research, 35% of finance professionals said that AP and AR automation would help their team work more efficiently long time. So I think folks know that they need to move toward automation. I think they're really beginning to see the benefits. They're understanding it. They're talking to peers that have already automated. So it's really just a matter of taking the leap. So again, I cannot encourage you enough, having been someone that worked in a very manual environment for years, but also implemented AP automation at different companies. It really is life-changing for that AP team, but really for your finance organization as a whole. And number 5, we're hearing, we don't feel like we need automation tools. Well, companies that don't automate the AP function really risk getting left behind. And again, in talking to these finance professionals, 96% of CFOs have digitized or plan to digitize not only the AP, but also the AR functions by the end of this year. 54% of CFOs say they're digitizing AR and AP to provide customers and vendors with more efficient payment processes. 79% of finance professionals say their organization is making more payments through electronic methods than paper checks, and that to me is so encouraging. So, we know that digitizing, not only AP, but AR as well is a definite priority this year for CFOs. Also, according to a survey of 400 CFOs from payments.com and VersaPay, 96%, think about that. That's 96% of CFOs know that they need to digitize and they're planning to do it. Again, it's just a matter of taking that leap. So let's talk about AP automation with AvidXchange. So who is AvidXchange? Well, AvidXchange is the industry leader in automating invoice and payment processes for mid-market businesses. At AvidXchange, we believe there's a better way for businesses to make payments, eliminating the endless piles of paper that so many AP departments find themselves buried in. So that's why we set out from Charlotte, North Carolina in the year 2000 with a simple mission in mind, and that's to transform the way companies pay their bills. We've grown quite a bit since then, continuously expanding our team, our footprint, and our capabilities to deliver an industry-leading AP automation solution that helps more than 5,500 North American companies cut costs, improve visibility, and increase efficiencies. We've earned the trust of more than 825,000 businesses in our supplier network, processing more than $180 billion in invoices and payments last year alone. We've become one of the fastest growing technology companies in the US because we've made their business our business. So over the last several years, we've received a lot of recognition for our efforts. And as you can see here, some of those are, we were called a global fintech unicorn by both Business Insider and CB Insights, top software company in North Carolina by the North Carolina Technology Association, one of the 50 fastest growing private companies in the Charlotte area for 6 consecutive years, ranked among Deloitte's Fast 500 4 years in a row, and named the top 100 technology companies in North America by Red Herring, and really, we're just getting started. So let's talk about before automation with AvidXchange. So as you can see here, this is a pretty typical manual AP process. The invoices come in, someone is opening that mail, a lot of times with the letter opener, having to sort through the mail. As I mentioned earlier, I know back in the day we used to date stamp every invoice that came in. Also, not to mention the manual data entry where they're having to enter all of that invoice information after they've coded the invoice. And then, of course, they're having to route the invoice around for approval. A lot of times, folks are using email, which is not the most reliable and efficient way. Or they're even, hand walking them to someone to sign and bring back to them. Also, then on the payment side, they're doing their check runs, their payment selection, that payment disbursement. A lot of times it's with paper checks. Also, accounting system integration, bank reconciliation, and reporting. So you're talking about multiple steps just to process those AP invoices and those payments. So what can it look like after automation? So we are going to see this right here, that after automation, that you can take those multiple steps that we've just talked about and really boil them down to just 3 tasks. And those are coding those invoices, approving those invoices, and then ultimately authorizing those for payment. So again, multiple steps or just the 3, automation can help so much with these tasks. Now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jack Clarke, who is going to talk more about automation with AvidXchange.
Thank you, Rhonda. So how we really get to automating the process and reducing the steps that Rhonda just shared with you to really allow you to focus on coding approvals and authorizing payments instead of all of the manual repetitive tasks that you go through in your AP process today. What we're going to do is really utilize technology and services to help you free up that time that you're spending on the redundant activity that you go through today, and allowing you to take that time back so that you can focus on more strategic and beneficial accounting activities. So the first way we're going to be able to do that is really help you to eliminate handling invoices before they get into an approval workflow. If you think about how invoices might come in today, you're going to have invoices that might still be coming through the mail. You may have a good chunk of those invoices coming in via email, and then you may also have invoices that need to be scanned. So you'll have the opportunity to submit invoices in several different ways, including a PO box, as well as an email inbox and through upload. What we do is we centralize how those invoices are captured and utilize both technology as well as a services team to ensure the accuracy of the information that we're capturing, and also to make sure that any details that are tied to your business rule logic for the approval process is going to be populated on the invoice. Once that invoice information is captured, we can facilitate a purchase order match. So if you have invoices that are tied to POs, those can be matched and we can flag exceptions. You can also set up rules for the approval workflow. So approval emails will go out to the approvers without any intervention by the accounting staff, notifying those folks that might be at the department or location level that they have invoices that require their approval. And they can log in, see the invoice, have visibility to coding, make any adjustments, sign off on the invoice, and capture an audit trail of each of those steps while moving that invoice automatically to the next step in the process, whether that's based on a dollar threshold or a particular category of spend. So you'll always have visibility to the invoice activity as those bills are moving through the various different steps in your approval process. And then you're going to have the ability for those invoices to be paid through our system as well. And that network that Rhonda mentioned of over 800,000 suppliers that we've onboarded over the last decade or so means that we'll typically identify 30 to 40% of your suppliers that we already know how to pay electronically. So we can process payments through a direct deposit using our solution called AvidPay Direct. We also will process payments via virtual MasterCard. So any supplier that has a merchant account can accept that payment through their ability to receive credit card payments, whether they have a point of sale system or an e-commerce site. They're going to have a merchant account that we can facilitate that payment through. And then we'll also process paper checks on your behalf. So part of our kind of unique environment is that when we receive a new payment file from a customer, we'll cross-reference that against our network. We'll identify who's already receiving electronic payments, who's still receiving paper checks, and we actually go through and help onboard the suppliers to convert them from a check payment to an electronic payment. So we will really help the supplier understand what their options are to receive payments more quickly and securely, and also to provide quicker turnaround on the payment than, say, a check that's being delivered in the mail. Once you've gotten the payment process automated through AvidPay, we're going to be syncing those cleared payments back to the accounting system. And this is really where our integration with Microsoft Dynamics comes into play. We utilize a scheduled API sync to push invoice and payment data to the accounting system. We're also pulling vendor master and chart of account data from the accounting system on a regular basis, and also we'll be pulling the purchase order data for facilitating that match. So all of the activity that you typically would have taking place in the accounting system, maybe keying in invoice data, selecting payments, exporting files, creating different batches, all of that gets consolidated into a simple process where you'll have that be part of your day-to-day workflow, and you'll really have visibility to the entire life cycle of invoice activity right from within the AvidXchange platform. This is going to give you great visibility to what's taking place in the current environment, as well as giving you all the reporting and historical access to that information when it comes audit season. You'll have a one-stop shop for all of your AP activity. And so when you're utilizing the AvidPay process, we don't also require that you necessarily automate the invoice process. Many of you may have document management systems that have done that, but where we can really help with the payment process is really offloading all of the manual steps, especially if you're processing a heavy percentage of paper checks today. What we'll do is typically find that your suppliers are already familiar with our service, they're already receiving payments, and it's actually to their advantage to take payments through our payment network where they can receive detailed remittance advice. They'll also make sure that any of the payments that are coming to them are being processed in a secure manner in the way that supplier wants to receive the payment. So not just because it's convenient for you to send a check or to cut a batch of ACH payments to that supplier, but they may have integrated technology where it's actually more convenient for them to receive that payment via a credit card payment versus the ways that you've been traditionally paying those suppliers. And this is kind of a breakdown of how the different suppliers line up from several different industries. We're also going to prioritize utility payments because they're very time sensitive, and we understand that your business operations rely on those utility payments being paid in full and on time. So really how that process can originate is you can actually kick off the process from your accounting system if you're automating the pay side of the process, and you'll just create your payment batch instead of separating out the payments into different categories based on the method of payment. You could create one batch per checkbook, and we'll import that into our AvidPay portal where you can implement an electronic workflow step. So for a lot of folks that are doing manual check signing today or have a manual review of their payment file information before they send it out, this is going to give you the ability to capture the audit trail of that date and timestamp and the controls around your approval process. So you could have multiple layers in that approval of authorizing payment. And then what we do once the payment's been approved is we'll debit your checkbook for the individual payment amounts to make reconciliation easy. We're going to utilize the check number from the accounting system in this scenario as the unique identifier so that you can run a simple reconciliation report and see the funding of each payment as well as the cleared payment details, status, and proof of payment. We'll then cross-reference that batch against our network, determine the method of payment we're delivering, and if we don't get in touch with that supplier to onboard them for an electronic payment, we're still going to process a check to that payment. We're not going to hold up any type of payment to try to convert that. We'll just reach out the next time because we know that that supplier needs to get paid efficiently, and we really treat the suppliers as our own customers as well by providing them with services. For example, they'll have access to an online portal where they can view payment activity across their customers. So for any suppliers that you're currently paying today, you would become another customer tab in the portal they already access to view real-time payment information. What we're also doing is providing the level of detail that the supplier needs so that they can minimize the contact with your accounting team to ask questions about what invoices are included in a particular payment or how that payment gets broken down. They'll have that information sitting in their inbox or bundled with the check when they receive the funding. And then you'll have all of the audit trail of this entire process captured. So you'll know where a particular payment is, what the status is, what the method of payment is, and once that payment clears, you'll have all the proof of payment information for reconciliation and audit purposes. So it's really a one-stop shop for all of the payment activity that you'd be responsible for. And this is really where those kind of key points that Rhonda was reviewing at the beginning of the presentation are going to really, we're dispelling those myths by giving you a streamlined approval process, giving you time back, and really saving costs around the processing of your invoices and payments. And the result of that is going to give you better visibility, better controls, as well as increasing fraud protection, because we're going to be taking on responsibility for delivering those payments, as well as providing positive pay reporting and fraud monitoring for every payment that goes through our network. So in this case, we have a promotion that we're offering today for folks that attended the webinar. So if you'd be interested in learning more, we're certainly interested in talking with you directly and setting up a one-on-one demonstration to learn more about your environment and some of the goals that you have. This promotion is going to allow you to implement the pay process at no additional cost. It's also going to help you save costs on the invoice transaction processing. So if AP is something that's at the forefront of your priorities to automate this year, this is a great way to get started and really be able to kick off the project as you come into the summertime so that you can have a more automated end-to-end AP process from the type of manual effort that you go through today. As people are moving from different roles in the organization or shifting to different organizations, a lot of this information lives in someone's head. So putting a system in place to really help with that business continuity and that type of consistency in how you process things is really going to help as you begin to grow and scale your operations. So I think we've got a few poll questions here. So we'll ask you kind of what your next steps are. Feel free to select one of the options here. And if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, we'll certainly be following up with more information, and we can reach out to you if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one demo with us. All right, well, it looks like we've got some folks that are interested in seeing the demo, some folks that are just here to learn a little more, and you know, we're happy to engage with you as you would prefer. So we'll follow up with you folks as you begin to explore AP automation and learn more about how AvidXchange can really help automate your process.
All right, Jack and Rhonda, thank you for the presentation. We're going to go into Q&A. We do have a couple of questions that came through. If anybody has additional questions, now is the time to get those in and we can get those addressed. So the first question is, what does implementation look like and what is the cost associated?
Sure, I can take that one. So the implementation process is fairly rapid. You can get up and running in as little as 4 to 6 weeks from an end-to-end process. So it's not a huge lift for the organization to be able to get up and running. As we mentioned, there is a promotion involved. So if that's something that you'd like to move forward with in the short term, we can certainly you know, get you qualified for that promotion so that you can take advantage of some of the no-cost process. But there is usually a small onboarding fee. And the pricing model is transactional based. So it's based on the volume of transactions you actually process. We can provide you with an estimate based on the number of invoices and payments that you process today.
All right, thank you. And how can automation support our audit process?
Yeah, very good question. So one of the things that often becomes a challenge when it comes audit season is when requests are made for backup documentation, you might have 3 or 4 different places to go to find that information. So if you think about having either paper invoices or digital invoices stored in a file folder somewhere, having to retrieve the actual document, going to your email to find any history of the approval and who signed off on that invoice, and if you needed to provide visibility to how that bill is coded, there might be information that's only located in the accounting system once that invoice has been processed, and then you'll need to find the proof of payment for that entire life cycle of the AP transaction. So once you automate the process, you'll really have the ability to quickly run a couple of reports and generate all of that information for your auditors. And when you have a wealth of information and kind of a full year's worth of activity in the system, oftentimes we find customers are setting up read-only access for their auditors so they can self-service find the backup documentation around any AP activity. It's a huge time saver, especially if you've ever been in an audit and had to retrieve that information and do it manually and have to really hold the auditor's hand as they're making requests for that backup. You can provide that to them centrally or give them quick access through reporting.
Okay, thank you. And what does an average profile look like for a solution like this? Who would be a good fit?
Yeah, so that's a question that really depends on what your goals are. We run into organizations that are at the early stages of kind of startup, but they know that they're going to rapidly grow, and they're looking to put the types of controls and automation in place to help them scale so that they don't have to add such a large headcount to their accounting staff. And then we run into folks that have been doing things manually for a number of years. They've got systems in place that may be not digital, but they have a process down, but their staff may be remembering all of this activity in their head. And as Rhonda mentioned earlier, there's a lot of AP staff that's getting towards retirement age, and if that person leaves, that knowledge can't really be passed on. So putting controls and systems in place is another way to think about it. What we find is oftentimes if you're processing around 100 invoices a month and you are getting to the point where you might need to add staff in order to facilitate any additional growth, that's usually where we see people looking to automate the process instead of adding headcount to the accounting staff.
Jack, this is Elaine Verna with Avid. I just wanted to add one more thing in there. What I think we observed during the pandemic was that even regardless of your size, there was a real demand to automate to support the business continuity issue or to enable people to work remotely. So that now too has become, as Rhonda has pointed out, like a pretty, like it's more top of mind than it was before. So again, pretty much any size company realized that they need to do things remotely. Maybe which solution they chose might vary, but they needed to be able to work remotely for sure.
Yeah, great point, Elaine. The other factor is also on your supplier side. As suppliers are requesting more of their payments are issued electronically, oftentimes the burden falls on the accounting staff to have to go and collect and store all of that information on how different suppliers get paid. That's one of the benefits of our payment network, is that we actually build a profile for each supplier. So as soon as we identify that you have a payment for that supplier, we know what the mechanics are and what conditions we need to follow, as well as where we need to send that remittance advice to deliver that payment in a timely fashion to the supplier. So it works on both sides of the house. The pandemic really impacted a lot of people who were processing things manually and needed to make adjustments because of the new work from home, work from anywhere, work remote environment, and also some of the challenges that they ran into when they had paper-based processes.
All right, and the last question is, can you expand on the virtual card? How is that different from an ACH?
Sure. Rhonda, I can take that one unless you wanna jump in on that one.
Sure,
All
Jack,
right.
I can jump in. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. Go for it.
So a virtual card is a one-time use 16-digit card number. And in the case of AvidPay, it's a MasterCard number. So the vendor does have to have a merchant account in order to be able to process that payment. But it is an extremely secure payment method that is covered by all of the same protections that our own personal cards are. So if you think about things like insurance coverage, fraud prevention tools. So it's a quick way, but a secure way for vendors to get paid. And also with AvidXchange and AvidPay in particular, we can actually make those payments, on the vendor's website, or we can call them on the phone, or if you can believe it, in year 2022, we still actually fax remittance information to certain vendors that request it. So it really enables us to be able to be flexible in the way that we provide those funds and that remittance information. And more vendors, I know in my 10 years at AvidXchange, I've really seen the adoption rate grow, not only your large vendors, but also your mom and pop shops, as vendors become more and more aware of virtual card and their benefits.
All right, well, I believe those are all the questions that we have for you today. If anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to contact your account manager here at Innovia Consulting, and we would be more than happy to get those addressed with you, or you can contact AvidXchange as well on that. So I just want to thank Rhonda and Jack for the presentation today, and for everyone on our webinar, or if you're watching on demand, we thank you for taking the time out to join us. So I also want to let you know that we do have more upcoming events on our website, and that's innovia.com/events. So check out those upcoming events and register. And our training workshop page is also up and live. So check out the variety of workshops to fit your role and get registered for those. And have you heard our latest Innovia Conversation podcast? We have a library of podcast episodes for you to listen to. You can learn more on our podcast page, and that's inovia.com/podcast. Browse our selection and subscribe so you'll get notified when those new episodes air. And don't forget to check out our conference page. We have wrapped up our customer conference for May, and we have some post-conference information on our site, so check that out at inovia.com/conferences. And also check out our Dynamics Con Live that we will be attending in September. You can register for that and get the discount code, and so that will be coming up very soon. All right, well, we thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon on another Inovia webinar. Take care, everyone. Thank you, AvidXchange.
Thank you, everyone.